Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to On the Hunt here on the Cryptid Huntress channel. I'm so excited that you guys are here tonight. I just got home from the World UFO Conference today. What a fantastic conference. Wow, we had a great turnout. That place was packed from wall to wall today up in Clayton, Georgia, and it was fantastic, y'all. I gave a presentation, and I had some of my teammates that showed up today and a ton of people. I want to thank everybody who showed up to that conference today from far and wide. Okay, Greg showed up, man, from Kentucky. Okay, I met a lady that lives on the same road that I grew up on today. All right, from my hometown. All sorts of cool people were there today, including, like I said, my teammates. Okay, I had Matthew Delph there. David Pardue showed up. Y'all remember him from our shows, and my good friend Don Tart as well. So it was a wonderful time. Thanks again, y'all. All right, well, I have another one of my teammates, okay, somebody who I go out Bigfooting with pretty often here in the studio tonight. We have Tony Green here in the studio. You guys are going to love Tony. I mentioned his story a couple of times about his shape-shifting uncle, okay, that ran in the backyard. It might have turned into a dog, but we're going to talk about that tonight. It's such a cool story. I can't wait to get into it tonight. So if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and everything that I'm doing and up to right now, please go to my website. That's the cryptidhuntress.com. My calendar of events is there. The conferences that I will be at, including, I do have the Full Disclosure Now conference coming up. Okay, that's actually my next event now, and my next public event, at least, down in Florida. That's July the 15th through the 18th. I will be speaking there and giving a full gigantic presentation at that conference. So y'all please come see me there. And I am also slated to be at the Appalachia Starseed reunion. That's coming up in August, and then I will be at the East Tennessee Squatch Out. That's going to be in September, and that's with Manimal Research. If you guys know Wayne, that's his event, and we're going to have a really good time doing some Bigfooting out in the woods at Sasquatch Farms. All right, so okay, well, let's get to our show tonight. Okay. Oh, I also want to thank everybody who is a member of my Patreon, and I want to thank all my channel members. And if you guys would like to support my channel, become a member of my Patreon. And also you can visit my shop that's called War Woman Goods. Everything's on sale right now. Okay, I'm trying to fundraise for all these trips I got to go on. So you guys go, and I do send out free merch with purchases. Okay, well, Cryptid Huntress merch. Speaking of merch, I got some cool alien earrings today at the conference. I'm so excited about them. But you guys go to my website, to my Etsy shop too, and you can find some merch. And yes, I am fundraising for all these events that I'm going to, and I even have somewhere I'm going next week. I'm going dogman hunting. Right, you'll hear about that next week. But let's get to our show, y'all. Okay, so I have Tony Green in the studio tonight. Tony came into the field of Bigfoot research around 1988. He was brought into the organization known as the Georgia Bigfoot Research and Investigation, or GBRI for short. He's had 2 Bigfoot sightings and has seen quite a few tracks. With 23 or more years experience in the field, Tony always remains calm under pressure, which is one of his fortes. He's got a lot of fortes, man. Tony's awesome. He takes a biblical and scientific approach to Bigfoot research. He's a member of the North Georgia Cryptid Researchers. That's on my team. Okay, so please help me welcome to the show my good friend, Tony Green.
Hello, hey, everybody. How are y'all doing?
Tony, I'm so excited to have you here. I just love talking with you. And you have way more Bigfoot experience than I do too. When it comes to the extended amount of time you have spent in the field since the 1980s, man. I was still in school back in the 1980s. Okay, I was the youngin back then. But yeah, you're one of the OGs on our team that's been doing this research for a long time. What got you into it?
It's good to be here.
Thank you.
It's always an exciting to chat it up with you, and when we're out in the field, we often chat it up too. But what got me started was convenience store at night, working third shift, and for all my life, I always believed in Bigfoot. You know, there was always never a doubt that something like that could be. You know, I've grown up. I watched I watched Boggy Creek, of course. My favorite movie is The Creature from Black Lake. Then I was in search of as a kid, I was watching, you know, on the Sid and Marty Krofft Super Show. I'd watch that show, Bigfoot and Wild Boy. So I was always interested in Bigfoot. That was never a thing with me growing up. So fast forward to, you know, 87, between 87 and 89, I was working in a convenience store called Hotspot, and I'd work third shift. And back then, you know, you didn't have traffic like you do back then. You had pretty much after midnight, everybody was in the house. There was nobody just riding around, except for, you know, a couple of my friends that I met at that store. But when they would come by, it'd be no more than about 6 or 7 of us, and some of the police officers would come and hang out with us, and we would talk about the paranormal. We would talk about ghosts. We would talk about Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, aliens, all of the paranormal things that we pretty much are researching now. We would be discussing these things, and one of the things that drew them to come into the store to talk to me about stuff was, now I'm a black man that listens to heavy metal, so they would come in and they would hear like Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, or something like that playing, and it would stir up a conversation. And so that's how a lot of, you know, I met a lot of people. And so we'd be in there talking and stuff, and we got on the subject of Bigfoot and you know, what could it be? What was it doing? You know, Patterson footage. And one of the guys there, he had a friend that was the head of the GBRI. So he asked me if he can bring him up to, you know, fill us in on all the Bigfoot stuff. So I was like, yeah, bring him on up there. So he comes up, and over the course of time, you know, he didn't give us all of the information at once in one night. It was over the course of time, to where, you know, it was really interesting, to say the least. And me and him became friends. I had started going down his house, and he had, you know, back in the day, you had computers, but they had a little floppy disk thing. So he would put in a floppy disk, and he would, you know, show me different pictures that they had, footprints and stuff like that, and just really going over all the stuff that they did. And he asked me if I wanted to go. I was like, nope, I don't need to go. There's no reason for me to go. I already believe it. I don't have to prove anything. So there were 2 other guys that were gung-ho about going. So they'd be trying to talk me into going, because I felt like this at the time. He's there. I don't have to, I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I know it's there. So y'all can go on in the woods if you want to. So time goes on, and I think that this, you know, by the time that they were going to go on their trip, this was when this is taking place in June of 89, I believe it is. And the expedition was planned for October. So this whole time, they're trying to talk me into going. Like, you'll love it. It'll be this, that, and the other. So I said, okay, I'll go if these other two go. So okay. So I go and I get the stuff that I need and everything. Because the last time I'd been camping was in the Boy Scouts. So I had no tents, I had nothing. So I went and, I got all my stuff, and it comes time to go, and the other two drop out. So that I'm up there by myself. So I go with the team leader and everything, and he's telling me, he's showing me, basically what the things you need to do and all that. So that that broke me into camping and literally everything. Just so, one of the first things that they kind of showed me how to do was make sure you gather your firewood. And I literally went through like a Boy Scout type scenario with going into Bigfooting all together, camping, Bigfooting, guns, all of that was in one fell swoop through this Bigfoot team. So that's how I got started in it. After going that first time, I was hooked. It was, yeah, we got to go. This is fun here. This is really fun. And I think it was my second night. I want to say it was my second night. We were going out. At the time, I did not have a gun. Actually, at the time, I was afraid of guns, so to speak. I had a fear of just the loud bang of the guns and stuff. So I didn't have a gun. I had a little machete. And so I wasn't afraid to go out with them because I'm wanting to really see one. I'm wanting to see one. Let me see something now. So we're going out, and about 50 yards ahead of me is a guy, and he's got his rifle, and about 50 yards behind me is another guy, and they got their rifle, and I'm in the middle. And we're walking up this fire road, and all I hear is duck, boom, boom. A dang mountain lion coming down the hill, like charging me. And they shot at it, and it went back up the hill. And it was from that point on, I was like, I'm never coming up here again without a gun. Never. So that's what that whole episode got me into guns. So that is how I got started in the field. And another thing, back then, it's weird to me. I don't want to say it's weird. It's more or less fascinating how there is so much technology in the field now. When I started, it was you just had your flashlight, and those who had a gun had a gun. You had your flashlight, and on the high end of things, you had binoculars. So that was pretty much all you had, when you're going out there. There was no FLIRs, there was no night vision, nothing like that. What we would do when we go out at night is we would get out so far away from camp, and then we cut the flashlights off and kind of just sit in the dark and let your eyes get adjusted, and then begin to walk. And you'd see shadows and stuff from time to time, but for the most part, that's where the calmness comes when the pressure gets going. That's where I learned how to just like, man, I'm out here now, so ain't no need to kind of be scared now. I'm out here. If it snatches me up, I'm just snatched up. The one thing that another thing that keeps me calm too, funny, is the Albert Osman story, where he got snagged up and they took him to where they were and they kept him. They didn't do nothing with him. They just kept him. So I'm like, okay, so if they didn't do nothing to him, they're not going to do nothing to me. We're going to try to talk ourselves out of this thing. At
least you hope not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You hope not. You're going to pray that nothing snagged you. Like, what was it? I think he was in a sleeping bag, and he said he woke up to being tossed over something's shoulder and like a gunny sack or like a potato sack, and carried for hours.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? That's why I always said, there's no way I'm Bigfoot researching in a hammock. It's not going to happen.
Oh, Tony. Okay, so I'm actually going on a dogman hunt or let's just say expedition. I'm going to say expedition. That's not really what we're doing, but we're in the middle of where dogmen are out in, I can't say where. I'll tell you after the show, because there's a couple of people who know where I'm going. Okay. But we're going and we're bivouacking. Okay. We're going to be bivouacking. Like I'm actually taking a hammock setup for the first time in the deep woods. Like we're hiking in for several miles, and we're going to be gone for a while. I'm like multiple nights. Okay. So this is, and it's like, once you get out there, might as well. I mean, there's no point being scared. There's no point. Nothing we can do. I'm not getting out of there in the middle of the night. If worse comes to worse, we're gonna have to hunker down.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna have to hunker down. I know that feeling, and it's I got that like kind of sinking feeling in my stomach, and when I really sit down and think about it, like, what am I doing? With Dogman, I can handle the Bigfoots, but we got a Dogman expedition coming up.
Now, one of the things that in doing this type of research is that I've learned really is, and if you can't trust your teammates, then you need to take a step back, because this stuff's dangerous. It can be, even apart from Bigfoot or Dogman, you still have wild animals that will eat you out there. Yeah. And you have to just, rely on your teammates. I know, I've never researched a Dogman, although I would love to do that. I would love to.
Come with me. You're invited. You want to come? There's only a few of us going, man. You'd fit right in, Tony. You'd have a good time.
I would really love to do, because I've never researched a Dogman, but I think that's going to be on the cards.
Oh yeah, I'm taking one for the team on this one.
There you go.
I'm going out there.
There you go. That we're doing a dangerous thing. Fortunately, every creature that I've run into, like I said, I've had two, chased one walked out on me. I've never had any aggression towards me. Never had any aggression.
Me neither.
When they would come around the camp and circle the camp and stuff like that, they would, it was more of a playful thing, to where they would throw stuff in the fire, make the fire go poof when they're ignored. Now, we've had people on our team that were real skittish, and you'd have to just calm down, just calm down. This you can't be skittish, because you'll kill somebody being skittish, especially if you got a gun on. You got to just calm down. But
that's why we have to trust each other on our team. And I mean, we repeatedly said on our teams, like, I mean, we would lay down our lives for each other if need be. Right. You have to be willing to do that when you're in these dangerous situations, and you have to keep your mind right. You have to keep your mind right. You have to be calm. You have to be cool and collected. Calm, cool, and collected. You're the coolest and the calmest of everybody.
I try to be. I had one instance where we had a guy that he thought he was getting attacked, and we were on the same fire road, and we were. This was the first time we had night vision. We had a team come down from New York, and they brought some of their equipment, and they had two little small night vision cameras, and he had one monocular that was, like, at the time, a third generation monocular, where if you look through it, it lit up, it made everything look like it was daylight at dark. So this was the first time that we didn't leave anybody in camp. Everybody was out. So we're about a good 100 yards away from camp in both directions. And the team he was with the monocular, his one of the night vision camera batteries went dead on. So he was like, I'll just walk back to camp and get the other battery. No big deal. Okay. We're only 100 yards outside the camp. So there's really, no big deal. And we're on a fire road walking. He starts back up the trail, and he comes over the radio. I see it. I see it. I see it. And his voice was quivering. Now, from where he was in the road and where this thing was standing, couldn't have been no more than about 20 to 25 feet away from each other. Now, the Sasquatch did not realize that the team member could see it, because he, like I said, he's got this Generation 3 night vision binocular. So he's on the radio, and he says it's standing there. He says, I don't know what to do. I don't know what it's going to do. So I take off running towards him, and in my mind, I'm going to tackle this thing, because I'm thinking it's trying to attack my teammate. So I'm trying to save him. So I come barreling down this road, and I get to where I can see him pointing towards it. And as he's pointing towards it, it goes into a relaxed position. And that's when all the bulk and stuff came out. And he in his mind, he thought it was trying to attack him. So I'm just bolting down through there. I'm like, I'm going to have to tackle this thing. I'm going to have to hit this thing. And so I'm gaining speed to hit it. And he's still pointing where it's at. So I'm going in that direction. And by this time, the other teammate's coming up. And we get to the edge of the ravine where it had backed up and went off the ravine. And we were like, okay, do you want to go down here after it? Because we didn't have our flashlight. All we had was little night vision goggles, the little night vision things. And you couldn't see because we've been looking through those things all night. So you can hear them running around down there. And then they'd stop. And then we would get quiet. And then you just didn't hear nothing. And then we would like press toward like we were going to go, and you'd hear them back off a little bit. It's like, man, do you want to go down there? Let's go. Like that. But it was a drop. It's like, man, we can't, because we got our teammate here. He's down. Literally, he's down. It shook him up so bad that he was in tears. He was sitting on the ground. He breathing heavy. And it shook him up. And this is, like I said, he was from New York. He researched paranormal. So it's not like, he was just somebody just up there research. He was a researcher. He hunted ghosts and spirits and demons and have encountered all that. But when he encountered that Sasquatch that close, it shook him up.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine. Absolutely. That sounds like a pretty exciting moment. Like pretty exciting. And did you feel threatened at all, or were you just waiting?
I've never felt threatened by it.
No.
Never. Okay. Never. The only time the only time I felt a threat is we were at the same location. And we were going down the ravine so where we were on this place called Taylor's Ridge. It's up in North Georgia. And in the ravine down there is a place called Jenkins Gap. So, how you got down there, it walked down and it's back and forth down the mountain. So we get into around the second curve, and I hear this tree. And ain't no wind. And so I looked at my partner. I said, that was a tree. He's like, yeah. And then I pulled my gun. I said, no, we're not dealing with this today. And I pulled my gun and I said, let's go down there and see let's see what's down there. So we walk down to the tree, and we get to the tree, and you can see it appeared to be pushed over. And then we're talking a tree. It was a tree, and we're looking around the tree for footprints, not seeing any footprints or nothing. He's sitting on one end of the tree. I'm sitting on the other end of the tree, and we're just trying to listen to see if we hear anything walking away. And as we're sitting there, we hear whoa, like that. And I looked at him, he looked at me. I was like, did you hear that? It's like, yeah. I said, now it sounded like it was right next to my ear when it did that. And he said, the strange thing is, it sounded the same way to him. But we didn't see nothing. We didn't hear nothing walk away. We didn't hear nothing walk up on us. Nothing. So that was the only time I've ever felt any kind of I need to pull my gun situation. But any other time, like never felt threatened at all.
Yeah, we generally don't pull our guns out. I'm not saying everybody carries one, okay, but
Yeah.
to be safe in the woods, I mean, I sometimes do. Okay, I sometimes do, or maybe always do. Okay, but sometimes I do, and it's for safety purposes, 100%. But we're pretty much advised not to ever shoot at anything, right, Tony? Because first of all, there's severe retribution that could potentially happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you're probably not going to make it out of there alive either way. Okay,
right.
If you pull the trigger.
Right. You got it. You have to be aware of your surroundings. Like for anything. I used to tell this one guy, I told this one guy, I said, listen, because I had a 500 Magnum at the time. I was like, I want to go down and I'm a camp in Jenkins Gap. I said,
by yourself?
Yeah, I was going to do that by myself. I said, now, if you hear me shoot, I said, now it's going to be two things going to happen. I said, one, there's going to be an awful lot of evidence left behind. I said, so go down there and get it. I said, two, I might not be coming back.
No.
So, but I said, now, on the other hand, if I get down there by myself and you hear me talking and some heavy footsteps coming up behind me, don't shoot. I'm bringing him in because I'm going to talk him into following me. I used to cut up like that. Like, I never, like I said, I never felt that tree falling was the only thing that I felt this thing is trying to stir up something. But like shooting in I believe this, that, and in some cases it doesn't work. I've seen reports where people have shot in the air and they just looking like they crazy. So
yeah,
that may not work either.
We'll see, and that's the thing. Like I'm really particular. Like I don't go out in the woods with anybody that's not on my team.
Right.
Okay, our teammates, people that I trust and I know. Now, I did a field investigation with a team of guys who I had not met in person before, but they all have, military backgrounds,
right.
Most of them do. And, I did that Skinwalker Cave investigation with these guys. Shout out to Drewski, man, Drew and all the cryptid warfare operators. We're all going out to this investigation together, okay, soon. And, but anyways, we did that investigation, It's important that you know exactly how people operate. Okay, you get the operations order together.
Yeah.
You go out and do, you test the waters together. We tested the waters at this place, at that Skinwalker Cave before, and I think we all pretty much trust each other pretty well so far.
Right.
And I wouldn't go out there with them otherwise. They wouldn't have me go with them.
Right.
It's that important. None of us are trigger happy. Let's just say.
And really, and when you're doing this kind of research, now I understand, having a gun is because the having a gun really is for the other animals, not necessarily for
exactly.
It's for the other animals, and it's really to scare them off more than anything. Because but I've never. That was the only time I've ever, and all since '89, that's the only time I've ever pulled out my gun was when I heard that tree fall. I was like, well, I didn't know what to expect when I heard that tree fall, but I knew I was going toward that tree fall, because that's the same area. That's the same area that I chased that one. That's that same area.
You chased it. You were ready to tackle a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see that.
All right, so the reason I was ready to tackle it because I felt, I'm looking out for my teammate. This is, if I felt that you were in danger and something's coming at you, I'm going to do what I can to try to distract it to keep it off of you. So that's what I was trying. I was going to do what I can to tackle it. Now, as far as chasing one, like let's say if we're up there, okay, and wherever we are, we're doing some Bigfooting. Okay.
Okay.
And I see one. I'm going in that direction where he's at. If I see one walking, just doing it, I'm going where it's at. You know, because that's what we're there for, to get evidence. I'm gonna look, I'm gonna try to talk to it just to see.
Tony, I gotta tell you real quick, that just reminded me of this video of a guy who was swimming in a river, and a crocodile swam up behind him, and he's trying to swim back to the bank, and his buddy was on the bank, and as he's swimming to the bank, his buddy just does a DDT on this crocodile. Okay, like jumps on it and elbows it in the water, and I was like, man, that's true devotional friendship right there. I mean, that is that's not just a friend, that's a best friend right there.
Yeah.
Okay, and that reminds me of kind of what you would have done that night.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, you know, we're up there, and all we have is each other when we're up there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I felt like the way he came over that radio, it was like he was going to be attacked. And the only thing that in my mind that I could do was to tackle this thing. You know, now I know if I'd have come up on it and would have hit it like I'm in a football game, it probably would have knocked me clear. You know, I'd probably still be flying somewhere.
Yeah.
But
and
the place where I chased one at, I was with we would always go out two to three people at a time, and this was in the daylight. So we're down there in Jenkins Gap. We're probably about 200 yards away from where that tree fell. Now this happened before that tree fall. This happened when I chased it. So
yeah, Daryl in the chat, by the way. Here's another one of our teammates. We got Daryl.
Good to see you.
Daryl, I'd jump on a crocodile for you. I'd jump on a crocodile and a Bigfoot, okay? And or a Bigfoot. Okay.
But we're down there in that Jenkins Gap area, and I just we're walking and looking, and I just happen to see this black thing take off. So I took off after it. And you can see it kind of like going through trees and everything, and I'm trying to keep up with it. And it was pacing me. It didn't, because if it wanted to, it would have outran me. But it didn't. It kept like pacing me. And the other two people, I don't know what happened to them. When I got back to camp, they were back at camp. And what made me stop was I didn't see it no more. And when I realized I didn't see it no more, I stopped, and it was just deathly quiet. There was no sound. There was no nothing. All I had at the time was a single shot shotgun with 16 gauge shotgun with bird shot. That's all I had. I had it for the snakes. And I just hauled out, listen, I'm not running no more. I'm going back to camp. If you decide to follow me, that's fine. But I'm not running. I'm going to back away, and I'm going to walk back to camp. And I slowly backed away, and I walked back to camp, and you can hear them on each side, just like slowly, like walking with me until I got about a good 100 yards away from camp, and then they stopped.
Oh, wow. Okay, you have nerves of steel, by the way. Nerves of steel. You're like, I am not running, I am walking. And yeah, you're like David Pardue just said he keeps his trusty nail clippers on him just in case of an emergency. He's the MacGyver of the Bigfoot field research crew. Yeah. That is just wild. Well, you know what? I saw a patch. Okay, there was a patch. You know, you get patches, like Velcro patches to put on your pants and your clothes and your hats. And one of them said, I'm too fat to run. It's like, I'm just going to shoot.
I'm out of shape, so I can't run. I get out of shape because I'll get winded. Because, you know, if I would, let's say I was to just be freaked out and ran back to camp, I'd have had to run up a mountain. Yeah. And I couldn't, And then then on top of that, you know, you always hear this, like if you run, animals will chase you. So there's these things playing in the back of your head, you know. So I'm not running. I'm just not running.
Yeah. Do you think, Tony, that sometimes the cryptids out there, be it Bigfoot or Dogman, whatever kind of cryptids we're dealing with out there, do you think that they just want to scare us and not hurt us? They just want to scare us so that we'll get out of there?
So, in some instances, absolutely, and absolutely. I think they you know, a dog, for instance, let's take a dog, a simple dog can tell if a person means any harm or something, you know. So I think it's the same thing with the Sasquatch. If you're like down there meandering around and you don't got a clue what's going on, and you just, they can tell that this dude's lost. I think they can tell that, and you won't see or hear anything. You know, you hear people all the time talk about, well, I've been in the woods for so many years, hadn't seen or heard nothing, because they didn't want you to. You know, simple. They're not threatened by you. I think a dog man would be have more of aggression towards that, to where if you get in its territory, it's not only going to try to frighten you out of there, it could do damage, you know, on some levels. But yeah, absolutely, I do believe that if you're in their territory and they don't want you there, their aggression will be to get you out of there.
Oh yeah,
and that's
yeah,
extreme on an extreme level. Because with the Sasquatch, what they'll do, what I believe they'll do, is they'll make noises to get you out of there. And it's funny because they'll make, if a person's not a researcher, and this is just little nuances that I've learned over the years just off of hearing reports and hearing people talk about them. Researchers don't get nothing. We barely get anything when we're out looking. It barely happens. But let somebody that ain't got a clue be out there in the woods just making hamburgers or something, and these things literally will walk up to them and make do all kind of stuff. But if a researcher go out there, do the same thing, he might hear a twig snap. You know?
Exactly. Oh, I know. Absolutely. It's usually when we're back at the campfire. Okay, because you know Bob always got a lot of the activity back at base camp when we were all gone, because we usually have one person that mans base camp with all of our radios. Right. And while the rest of us will go out at night and we'll break off into teams and we do our thing out in the field, and then all the action's usually back at base camp
all the time. Yep.
And it's almost kind of, I'm not gonna say it's annoying, because I caught on to it and I started staying back at base camp with Bob. Okay. Because that's where the action happens. So it's actually a little bit more fun, it's a little creepy too when everybody's gone. And because that's when you're not really paying attention. You're thinking all the people or all the action is going to be out in the field, but yet it's right there. It's right there in the base camp. Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's the thing too, is it's always all right. So let me put it, it's always in base camp, because just think, when we go out, how do they know to come in when we go out if they're not already there? So I believe they're already there. When it starts getting dusk and we start settling in and doing the planning, that's when I believe that they come and they watch and observe, you know, because they're thinking we're not paying them any attention, in which we're not, because we're focused on what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go out and explore, where they're there. And I'm pretty sure a lot of times we walk right by them.
Oh yeah, we do.
When we get a distance away, they come right to camp, and then they'll start doing their circle,
throwing rocks and stuff.
Yep.
I had a gigantic rock that fell at my feet one night around a campfire from across the creek. So that happens. Now, Tony, there's a couple of people talking about whistling yes. in the woods. Is that something? I've always been told to not whistle in the woods at night. Have you heard that? What do you think about whistling?
I've heard that, but I don't know. I do know Sasquatch do whistle. They do have a whistle. And when they whistle, you actually hear the air. And I wish I could replicate it, but I can't. But you hear the air along with the whistle. And it can be like it can be in waves where it's, and then sometimes it'll have a cadence,
Yeah.
Now we have, tried to whistle in the woods to see if we got a response. That's never happened, but I do know of reports of whistling. Now we don't know, if they're whistling to locate one another, if it's a whistle to distract, if it's a whistle to, we don't know. But yeah, they do whistle.
Yeah. Okay. Boo the Beagle. By the way, I want to thank everybody for the super stickers. I see you guys. I didn't want to break up the conversation that Tony and I are having. So thank you to Boo the Beagle. Okay. And to Maureen Girl Gong. I want to thank Long Island Bigfoot for being a member for 4 months. Thank you so much for being a channel member. T-Bone, thank you for the super sticker. And Reverend Cosmic Joe Chronicles. Thank you so much, y'all. Y'all's support means the world to me. I appreciate it. But yeah, Boo the Beagle's asking, do good manners matter to Bigfoot? What do you think? Because some researchers are rude, okay, or they go out there and they kind of want to be, what do you call it? Like where you want to like make them come out like you're rude, kind of like Zach Bagans does on Ghost Adventures.
Yeah,
Taunting.
Yeah. Now, taunting, I think like this. Okay, you're dealing with a creature, with a Bigfoot or any other animal. You taunt it, bad things happen.
Yeah.
Taunt the dog, see what happens. Bad things happen. And I believe in the same thing with the Bigfoot. You get out there and you start taunting the thing, bad things happen. I do believe good manners, or put it this way, respect matters. You respect it, it's going to respect you. I feel that way. I try to show them the utmost respect. I go in their territory. I'm not going to be out there making calls and all that. And if I start hearing stuff, I'm going to start talking to it just to see.
Yeah.
And I carry that with me. So, and that might be why, like I said, I've been researching for a while, but I've only seen 2. So it ain't like I've had a lot of sightings, so to speak. I've seen shadows from time to time, and I believe that was them going between trees and stuff like that. But I do think being nice goes a long way in any with anything.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I try to be diplomatic with people. Right. Even, I'm watching this chat go by. We've got a great chat tonight, by the way. So everybody, for the most part, everybody's being very diplomatic, very nice. So thank you guys. Everybody's on their best behavior tonight. I appreciate that. Okay. But yeah, I try to be diplomatic, and I worked in politics, Tony, for almost 20 years. Okay, so I know how that works, and being nice can get you a long way. Okay, it can get you a long way. But just we have to be aware of what we're dealing with too.
Right.
Okay? Be aware of what you're dealing with. So you've had such a long history of high strangeness, and even in your family potentially. Yeah. And you know where I'm going with this, yeah. Okay? Because I talk about this experience that you told me about pretty often. Okay, and what like I said, you know what I'm talking about. You told me a story about, I believe it was your uncle. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Okay. So
tell me about it.
Growing up, my dad would tell us stories about his family, things that they did, and there was a lot of, for a lack of better terms, dark arts that went on. So in this one instance, I think my dad at the time, he was probably in his teens, early teens, 13, 14 years old. And this would have been around the 1950s, maybe the early 60s in Alabama. And he said his uncle, or yeah, I think it was his uncle. It was his uncle that, you know, dealt with what they call roots and stuff. And he had done something, got in trouble with the law, and the police pulled up to the front of the house. And he said, as he was in the yard, and he saw when the police pulled up, he saw his uncle walk out the house, walk across the yard, walk to this tree. And when instead of his uncle coming out from behind the tree, this dog come from behind the tree and went on. And when the police left, the dog came back from the way it came back, got to the tree, and then his uncle came out from behind the tree and went into the house. Now, I couldn't tell you if he shape-shifted, became part of the tree. I don't know, because my dad didn't really give any other details other than that. And when my dad would ask my uncle about that, he would say, that's not your business, boy. Leave that alone. Don't worry about it, and go on. And my dad, he would always tell us different stories about different things regarding, I want to say, it was voodoo. He called it root working. So that's what he would call it. So there was a lot of delving and dabbling. He never did it, but he would just tell the stories of family members doing it. Now he would see ghosts. He would see ghosts as clear as I'm looking at you. And you know, it was to the point where we would be sitting out there on the porch. And like this is the mid 70s now. We'd be sitting out there on the porch, and he would say, "Move out the way, let that man come through." And there'd be nobody there. And you would move, and you would, you know, because we're sitting on the wooden steps, and you would feel the impressions on the steps. And we'd be like, be looking like, what was that? He goes, "Hey boy, don't worry, that's your uncle. That's your aunt. They're just going home. They'll be fine. You'll be fine. They're not gonna let nothing bother you." And that was his view of it. That's how me and my sisters grew up like that. So it wasn't Bigfoot wasn't hard to believe in.
Well, Tony, do you think that is having that background and having your family being open to the paranormal and to potentially just magic and voodoo and things like that? Do you think that kind of got you interested as a kid? I mean, you were just naturally open to the paranormal, and you had a natural interest in cryptids because of that?
That's a possibility, because as far as my childhood goes and stuff like that, there was no separation. You know, that's all we've heard, like that story I just told you. Me and my sisters heard that story hundreds of times, just sitting out, just, talking about different things. So, and it's quite the possibility,
Yeah.
I'm not going to rule it out. When I first seen Boggy Creek, it was with my dad. When I first seen the creature from Black Lake, it was sitting up Saturday night with my dad. Godzilla movies, sitting up with my dad. We on Saturday nights, that was the thing. Just watching. And he never would say he never would say this is fake or that's phony. He'd say something like, well, that's why you don't go in the woods at night. You never know what's out there. He would say stuff like that. So
what did your dad think about Sasquatch and Bigfoot?
He didn't never really elaborate on it. He just would say that's why you don't go out in the woods at night. Like that was his thing. He and well, when I got into it, okay, because he was still living at the time when I got into it, and I told him about it. He said, I'm trying to think of how he put that. He said something like, okay, where are you going to be? So if you don't come back, I know where to go looking. Like that. He wasn't against it. He didn't keep me from exploring, so to speak. He didn't think I was crazy. He didn't think we were crazy. Personally, I think he believed in it. He just never said, I believe in Bigfoot. He never come out and just said that. But he supported me. He actually bought my stuff to go, so.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So that sounds encouraging, though. Like he was encouraging, I guess, by supporting you that way. That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it's important that, a lot of people don't have a lot of the support that some of us have, from our families.
Now,
and the understanding.
I think too, that aids in my calmness, so to speak, because I got support from my mom, my dad, my sisters, my kids. My oldest son, he wants to go. It's hard to get the schedules right. He wants to go. So there's they might be watching tonight too. So, but there is, I've always had the support system to do it, to go out here to research and stuff. And I've always had that. So there's never, it's even thinking back, on my job, when I tell people about Bigfoot, I've never got, oh, you're crazy, or you're this, or you're that. I've never got that, Now, what I do tell people, I'm not going to try to convince you. You ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the answer, but I'm not going to try to convince you. Now, if you want to get in a discussion, we get in a discussion. But my job is to, if I wanted to convince you, you wouldn't have no questions. Or let me put it this way, you wouldn't be asking me questions because I'd be too busy trying to convince you this is real and telling you why it's real and all this, that, and the other. I said, but if you ask me questions, I'll tell you the answer, but I'm not going to try to convince you that it's real. I'll give you an answer to make you question, could it be true versus rather than could it not be true?
Mm-hmm. And what I really appreciate about our conversations that we have is that you are a biblical scholar as well. Okay. And you can really connect the dots with some of the experiences, some of the cryptids and stuff. Mm-hmm. How do you bring that into your research? Okay. How do you bring the biblical aspect of the paranormal, the cryptids, the high strangeness, all that? Like, how do you combine that?
Well, thinking of the Bible itself is of supernatural origin. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you look at it that way. So yes, it's written by man, but it's inspired by God to be written by man. In other words, God had oversight over the penning of it. And in it, I like to tell people the Bible was not written to us, but it was written for us. It was written to the people it was written to 4,000 years ago. And how I interpret scripture is through the historical lens of the people back then. Okay. They had a supernatural worldview. So it was nothing to speak of angels. It was nothing to speak of fallen angels. That was part of their worldview. Everything was attributed to that, and you go to the Genesis 6 narrative where you got fallen angels that began mating with women and producing this race of giants. And out of the giants, you have this, when a giant died, its spirit, the punishment of the death, the punishment of the spirit of the giant was to roam the earth, seeking to inhabit. Its torment was roaming the earth disembodied. Okay. Therefore, in order to relieve its torment, it's going to seek something to inhabit. All right. The Bible also, you hear in the book of Ezekiel, it talks about the wheel within the wheel and this description of this thing that's in the sky. See, I interpret that as to me, it's a throne on wheels. So if you took a throne and put wheels on it, that's what you have. And that's a Jewish interpretation. They call it the Merkabah, which is the throne, which is the chariot, that God's throne becomes a chariot. So now, what are people seeing in the skies? Okay. I solely believe these are fallen angels that are appearing, and their appearance has a purpose, not purpose is to deceive. And that's what I believe. That purpose is to deceive, because, for example, when we go out with our equipment, and me and Trey have this discussion a lot when it comes to this quantum stuff. What we're measuring is not physical. We're measuring spirit. We're measuring spiritual things, and something spiritual does not operate within the confines of time. It operates within the confines of eternity, which there is no confines. See what I'm saying? So when we get out here and we're asking, well, where is this thing going? Well, it's disappearing. Why is it disappearing? Because it's not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing it's a spiritual things operating with physical properties. You see, like for example, angels, we know angels are spirit beings, but in order to cohabitate with women, they have to take upon a physical form. They're still a spirit being, but they take upon a physical form. And that's what we're seeing. That's wholeheartedly, I believe, when we're talking high strangeness, we're trying to put in words a spiritual reality that's happening in the physical realm. Now, I don't believe Bigfoot is a Nephilim or not. I get asked this a lot too. Well, what is Bigfoot? And another thing is, was Bigfoot on the ark? I get asked that a lot. My answer to that is, I don't know. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. He could have helped Noah build the thing. I said, but I don't know. I said, every animal, according to scripture, was on the ark. So by default, that would tell me Bigfoot was on the ark. But that is how I kind of connect the two, because people are seeing these things. These things are happening. I'm not, because of my Christian value and my understanding of scripture, I'm not going to say, oh, no, you're crazy. That can't be. Bull, it can't be. It can be just as easy, because in the Old Testament, you see these things happening. You see supernatural things taking place in the scripture. Not to mention, you have other writings describing the same thing that's described in the Bible. So that's how I keep that perspective. That's what I understand these things to be. And honestly, I believe it's going to get much worse, and you're going to start seeing greater manifestations as time goes on. They're going to become more tangible. They're going to become more real. And actually what you're going to see is one thing building upon another, upon another, upon another, and upon another.
Oh, wow. So that could explain why we're seeing so many more Bigfoots right now. There's so many more dogman sightings and reports. Hey, Renee, I see you here. Yeah. And people are always asking me, why are there more sightings now?
Yeah.
Why are there so many more reports? And people always say, well, the veil has thinned. The veil has thinned. Right?
The truth be told, there never was a veil. See, that's what's interesting, because you have your physical plane and your spiritual plane side by side. Because if there was any kind of different veil or anything, if we're in prayer and we're praying to God, he's hearing us in real time. There's no, and then the answers come in real time. So, we interact with spirit beings all the time, every day. If the thing is, here's another thing. I'm gonna give you something to think about. Okay.
Okay.
So, have you ever watched? You've seen the show Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
I've seen a couple of episodes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I know of them.
have you seen any of the episodes where they're using that high-speed camera?
No, I don't know. I may have.
So so they use this. It's called I forgot. It's a high-speed camera. Okay. So basically, what it does is if we're outside and we're shooting at the sky with this high-speed camera, it looks like we are standing still. We look like a still photo, but I forget how many pictures it's taking per second or how many frames it's running per second. Okay, but it looks like if you just shoot a rocket up with this camera, it looks like the rocket is not even moving. Okay, however, when they have a UAP or a UFO in the shot, it's moving like this. You see it moving fast. Okay, so this is what that tells me. As human beings, the fastest we can go is faster than the speed of sound, where we get our sonic booms. Okay, now we have yet to move at the speed of light, because that would literally involve changing your molecular structure. Okay. Mm-hmm. However, in the spirit world, in the spirit realm, they move at the speed of thought. So you would no way see it with the naked eye. You would only so that's why we don't, when we see UFOs, when we see a spirit moving through or something, it literally has to slow down for us to be able to witness it.
That is, you're actually explaining all this so well, Tony. It makes so much sense. Everything that you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. And wow, yeah, they moves at the speed of thought. Mm-hmm. It's not. See, that's what I like to tell people too. Is like, we're thinking in human measurements, human terms. These cryptids don't exist in human, by our measurements.
Right.
Okay? Right. They just don't. And that's why. I mean, that's really not a perfect explanation for it, but it's an explanation as to why we don't understand some of this stuff. Yeah. Because it's not on a human level. Okay.
It's not within the realm of time. Right. You're talking about beings that have been here before humans. You're talking about beings that have been here. There's no telling how long before humans. As far in the grand scheme of the universe, we as human beings, we are roughly 5,000 years old, according to Scripture, which is young. But you look at it in the scope of eternity, that's nothing. That is nothing. So you take, and even going back to a biblical view on this. When you look at Jesus after his resurrection, okay, he showed up to the disciples in a room, right? He just appeared, but he was physical. He was physical to the point he told Thomas to put your finger in the scars to see. He was able to eat and everything with them, okay? But then in a split second, he was gone. So because his physical body took up on spiritual properties, which enable him to move and travel at the speed of thought. If you think of being somewhere and you being there, that's an immeasurable time, because it's not constrained to time.
That's what I've always assumed. That's what the orbs are that we're seeing. It's like you can be anywhere, anytime, at any moment, at multiple places. It's the omnipresent soul or whatever. Yep. I don't know. It's really interesting to try to wrap your head around that. And I too have seen, you'd mentioned your dad and your family had seen actual spirits that were solid, like you and I right now. I've seen that too. I've also seen spirits that are iridescent. I've seen spirits that are see-through. I've communicated with them. I've communicated and seen orbs. Okay, orbs, balls of light, spirits.
Yeah.
Spirits. I guess it's a ball of energy and stuff. I mean, I've experienced that quite a bit.
And it's got to think about this. It has to slow down for you to be able to see it.
So that takes it purposely does that so that I can see it then, right?
Yep. Because you wouldn't be, right. So every day we are, if let's say it this way, if we can see into the spirit realm, it would cause us to have a stroke, heart attack, or what have you. Because there's so much and it's always around us. It's always around us. So when you see something, it has slowed down in order for you to see it, because its natural movement is the speed of thought.
Okay, so that means that when we have an experience, let's just say Bigfoot, for instance, Bigfoot, not everybody has ever, I have never had an up close and personal visible sighting right here in my face of Bigfoot. Right. I've seen them from a distance. I've had what I consider to be a potential cloak Bigfoot run up behind me and actually hit me, from the back of my legs. But even that happening, Tony, there was nothing there that I could see personally, but something was there.
Right.
But I couldn't see it. See, it's all about the frequency, it's the vibration, but there are certain times where they allow you to see them, and we hear this over and over again.
Yeah.
I was allowed to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. They wanted me to see it. Okay. That shows me looking back on all the experiences I've had with paranormal entities, cryptids, supernatural, even ETs. I was meant to see that because here I am talking about it today, and I'm able to express what I experienced.
Yeah.
And so many other people have experienced it too. We were meant to have those experiences.
Yeah, it's a thing where they allow you to see them, like an orb, seeing that ball of light, that it has to slow down. It has to slow down because if not, you wouldn't see it because they're all, like I said, they're always there. They're always there.
Yeah, they're always there. They're just out of our line of sight. Okay, or they're just too fast. They're vibrating differently than we are.
I had this is experience, a paranormal experience as far as talking about ghosts and demons and stuff. After I had just given my life to Christ, I'd probably been 2 years saved, and me and my first wife had divorced. We had been divorced maybe about 4 or 5 months at this time, and the kids were with me. So now I'm laying in the bed, and I'm facing out of the door, and their bedrooms is in the hall, and I'm laying there, and I'm trying to go to sleep. And I start hearing what sounded like wet chains coming up behind me. And it was like whoosh, 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 coming from a distance. And I go to turn over to see what it is. I can't move. The only thing I can move was my eyes. And I'm trying to cut my eyes to see. And it's getting up closer and closer and closer. And it sounded like wet chains come dragging across concrete. That's what it sounded like. And I heard it get right up to my ear, and it goes, "We are what we are." And I just snatched over, and I sat up on the bed, and I thought, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, did I just have spiritual warfare? And then all of a sudden, I felt violated. And I stood up and I said, "In the name of Jesus, I command you to leave." And I was able to feel where it was at in the house. It was going from room to room. In every room, I was commanding in the name of Jesus to leave. Finally, I went to the front door, opened the front door, and I said, "I command you in the name of Jesus to get out of here." And it gone. I called my pastor up. We prayed about it. But that voice, that was, oh man, that was 2004. And I want to say about 7 or 8 years later. You remember that movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose?
Yes. Creepy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm gonna watch that movie. Okay. Now, what got me with that one, what got me intrigued in it, it's a true story. So a lot of times when I would, I'd watch a lot of movies like that, but they would have to be true stories, because what I would do, I would go research the actual event to see how much they put in the movie, So it was intriguing because it was basically a court case against a priest and basically science versus religion. This is pretty much what this was. So I watched the movie. Then I went and looked it up, and I was looking at if they put the actual pictures in the movie, the actual recordings that they put in the movie. So I'm looking it up, find out the girl's real name. Then I find the recordings of the exorcism itself. So I messed around there and I hit play. I should have never did that, because the voice on that recording from that the actual recording of the exorcism, the actual voice on that recording was the voice that was in my ear. Oh. And I was done with horror movies from that point on. I ain't watched none since.
Oh, Tony, that is terrifying.
Yeah,
that is terrifying. And with those chains, that's weird. I'm not gonna say I was gonna crack a joke, but I was gonna say, was it the Ghost of Christmas Past?
Right. Right.
With those chains, but that's just odd.
Yeah, it sounded, and it was coming, and I can hear it coming. It wasn't like just a boom and a big noise and chains. I heard it coming. It was like coming from it sounded like it was coming from a distance. And like I said, it's the only way to describe it was like if you had wet, heavy logging chain that was fresh out of water dragging across concrete.
Okay, that's terrifying. I have not yet had a terribly horrible experience with spirits and stuff. Okay, I go looking for danger, apparently. Okay, so I have not had anything like that happen. I mean, I've had some scary moments in my life, yeah. But the fact that because you were saying like there's no time and space in their realm, right? And so the same voice you heard on that movie was the same voice that was in your ear.
Yep.
Man, there's a lot to unpack with that. There's a lot to unpack with that.
What we're dealing with in the spirit realm is you have these, because demons are basically the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. Okay, so you have a hierarchy. You have angels that have fallen, and then what I mean by fallen, pretty much angels who have rebelled against God. Okay, then you have angels who cohabitated with women to produce a race of Nephilim or giants. Okay, also you have the giant, the spirits of the giants that are pretty much condemned to roam the earth. That is what we're dealing with on a daily basis. And they seek to inhabit a body. They seek to, their mission pretty much is to destroy humankind in whichever way possible. That don't necessarily mean they're out to kill, but when you see like families destroyed, various things happening, they're the root cause of it.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of that going on right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. In a lot of people's lives, and a lot of people are, we've been under massive spiritual attack
Yep.
as an entirety. Okay,
Yeah.
especially here in the United States. Okay, all over the world, we've been under pretty extreme stress with
Yeah.
the past, at least for the past 4 years now, right?
Yep.
And suicide rates are up, and
Yep.
depression is through the roof, and
And
it's
we have to be alert because what it does, it wears you down
yeah.
to where you're not paying attention. And when you're not paying attention, you're susceptible to a lot of stuff. And that's something we have to be cautious of. Even like you're going out here and you notice first you had Bigfoot. Then you had Bigfoot with a snout. Now you have a complete dog man. Okay. Now, and these cryptids are getting bigger, they're getting badder, and they're getting more ruthless. Sasquatch is not. He's staying the same. He's just doing his thing. He's just doing his thing. But these other ones are they're literally terrifying. You don't know what you're going to get. And not only are you dealing with that, but wherever, and I'm pretty sure you can attest to this because this is stuff that I've just been hearing, is wherever you got a dog man, you have orbs, you have a lot of spiritual activity that surrounds this cryptid, you know. With Bigfoot, in my sightings and prints, I've never had any kind of spiritual any kind of spiritual thing with it. The closest thing I can get to any kind of supernatural paranormal thing with a Bigfoot was when I heard it grunt when that tree fell, and I didn't see nothing.
Okay. Okay, Tony, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Of course I have questions. Okay. I get asked a lot too. Mm-hmm. Are some of these cryptids, are they all organic? Are they like natural? Are they from the earth? Where do they come from? Because there is the theory that some of the, especially dogmen, let's just say, are made in a lab or in some sort of a cloning program or something like that. I mean, what do you think about that aspect of cryptids?
Okay, so for me, my belief is, all right, Bigfoot, I believe, is just a organic being, bipedal primate, that have a various species of it. I want to say there's at least 4 different species of a Sasquatch, and I think we talked about this before, where I believe in the Pacific Northwest they're bigger, more barrel, just a lot larger. You go down to Florida, they're about my height in Florida and lanky. Here, what I saw was it was a little bit taller than me. It was big, but not as big as Southern California or Washington State Sasquatch. Then you have the Yeti, which is basically they're about the same size as the ones in the Pacific Northwest. Their white appearance is due to icicles that have frozen on their fur that you see from a distance. It makes it look like it's glistening. Then you have the skunk ape, but then you have what I call a swamp ape, pretty much like the creature in Boggy Creek is a swamp ape. Then you have one that I believe it gets confused with a dog man, but I think it's more of has a snout much like a baboon or something, like type 3, looks like type 3, and but I believe all those are natural bipedal primates that just have not been discovered yet. Some cryptids, I believe, are straight all the way spiritual. They're a demonic manifestation of something that for some reason people are seeing and stuff like that. Now,
what about these, Tony? I'm gonna flash this picture up here. What do you think about all these dogmen types?
See, here's the possibility I think about that. Some of those are lab created, man sampling with stuff. And some I believe are pure spiritual. That's you got a combination of both going on there. I do believe that if it's made in the lab, it's a demonic influence to do that. Because I don't think human beings naturally think that way. Like another thing that's made in the lab that's intriguing to me. It's called a liger.
Oh yeah,
Which
a lion tiger.
Yes, yes. Now here's the thing, that was made in a lab, but it was not like, I don't think there was any chemicals involved. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think there's, because
it was a hybrid.
Yeah,
it was a hybrid animal from two organic animals, right?
Right.
They just hybridized it.
But some of these, I believe some, like with the dogmen, I believe some are spiritual, and I believe some are possibly concocted in a lab.
Mm-hmm. So when I say things, when cryptids, creatures, let's just say creatures, are created in a lab. And now I really do talk about cloning quite a bit. I'm really into looking into cloning. And I mean, I was even planning to do a show soon on recycled celebrities. Okay. Right. And it's something that I think we all should be aware of. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because when there are bodies that are being cloned, okay, what does that do on a soul level? Okay. How does the soul get in there? The consciousness, how are they transferring that on? And it's hard to wrap my head around, Tony. It's hard to wrap my head around, and because those can be dark entities can be put into all these cloned bodies. Okay. Dark entities, demonic presences, demonic entities can.
Honestly, that's what's going to happen. Because if you clone a human being, let's say you clone a human being, okay, mm-hmm. It's not born. It's not like
it didn't go through the portal. Right?
it's not born. So you have it has to be animated. Now, one of the things that's what goes along the lines with cloning that really that I've been really looking at is AI. AI is, you pretty much have a robot with a conscience, but it has no soul. And, we were talking about demons looking for a body to inhabit. That would be the perfect body for it to inhabit, one that has either a clone or a AI or a robot built by it. Here's one for you. If you go in the Bible in Revelation 13, it talks about the mark of the beast, but it talks about who makes the mark of who institutes the mark of the beast is an image of the beast that's made by the false prophet, and the false prophet causes the image to have life, and then the image produces the mark that causes everybody to get. That's AI. And that's right there in the book of Revelation.
I am 100% team human. Okay. Everybody joining me on team human here. Okay. We're all team human. Yeah. I'm not cool with these robots and stuff. I'm just not. No Neuralink, none of that. You're not. It's a lot. Okay. We're still here trying to save humanity.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, because there is what they're calling the transhumanist movement. There's the AI takeover.
Yeah. And they're pushing it. They're pushing it. And they're pushing it regardless of the warning signs that's taking place with these things. They're asking these things questions, and they're getting dark answers.
Getting dark. That's right. Well, hey, I mean, people can ask Alexa. I do not have Alexa in my. I will never have Alexa in my house. No shade to all y'all that have Alexa and stuff, but I am not going to have another. I mean, we've already got our cell phones listening in and stuff. Right. But to have a spy in your home at all times. That's just,
Right.
our TVs are spying on us, you know, the Alexa stuff, our cell phone,
Yep.
everything. Yeah. I like my privacy as much as I like my perceived privacy. I feel like I have privacy, but I probably don't.
Want to add nothing. Don't want to add anything extra that's going to give up what we already are giving up more of it, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're in weird times right now, and just throwing the cryptid factor in with all the craziness in the world right now. I mean, it is kind of like Revelations, right? It's kind of like Revelations, and it is kind of the end times. And I had a pretty in-depth conversation about this, especially with our friend Dennis Carroll, who's in the chat today. Hunting the Shadows is in here. Hey, Dennis. He and I talked about the end times. Okay,
Yeah.
and I think it was in regard. I was just about to do a show on those mall aliens. Okay, down in Miami, there were some alleged aliens. I talked about those today briefly on my presentation at the World UFO Conference.
Awesome.
And we talked about that. I mean, is it the end times, Tony? What do you think about that?
Okay, we've been in the end times since Jesus ascended on high. So we've been in the end times that long. All right, so when we talk about the end time, we are living in the end times, and things are going to ramp up. It's going to ramp up to a level that where in Revelation talks about the whole world being deceived. And that's basically what's happening. You're going to start seeing a lot of stuff that is going to get attributed to God, but it's not going to be God. It's going to be these entities and these various beings doing things. But basically, what you're having is you got where it's a full blown deception. It's a full blown deception. I'm gonna give you an example. When we read about Adam and Eve in the garden, it says, our text says, a serpent appeared to Eve. Okay, now. Was it a snake? We don't.
I mean, that's what we're led to believe, taking it in like a literal sense. Yes, but I mean, some people interpret that as being, it was a reptilian. You know, or
now, in ancient times, they didn't view it as a serpent. They viewed it as a divine being that was in opposition to God. In other words, the title serpent is descriptive of its nature.
Okay.
So I would say in these last days, watch the use of languages, because what the language can be used to hide something more sinister.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When we see a UFO or UAP, a lot of people believe that they're coming from other planets and that they're peaceful and all that. I've never foresaw a UFO being peaceful. Never have. Yeah. Even before I started I was like, something ain't right about that. It's showing up, it's disappearing. What's it doing? It's by now, think about it. They've been coming and doing it. By now, they should have showed up and said, hey, we here for this or that or the other.
Okay.
Now all they're doing is flying around.
Well, from all the research that I've done, all the remote viewing targets that I've been given, all these blind targets, and they're examining like UFOs and ET experiences. It is my opinion that ETs are not all like from outer space. I think that they're.
Yeah.
I think it's more sinister. Okay, I think maybe something more sinister. There's a lot of, and I think it's all of them. Okay, I think that there's some that are here to have come to try to help and push humanity forward, on a conscious level. But there's some that are abducting humans and experimenting on them. And here we got the missing 411 stuff going on, all these missing persons clusters. You and I do Bigfoot research in national parks sometimes, and we put the dangers out there, but there's a lot of dangers out there.
My question is, if this is an advanced intelligent race. Why is it abducting us to do experiments? What they looking for?
Exactly.
What they looking for? And here's another interesting thing is they always take blood.
They do.
Take blood. They always.
Blood is a recurring theme in a lot of these remote viewing targets I'm given too when it comes to cryptids attacking people. With the Dogman, for instance. That's something that I was hesitant to talk about when it came to that remote viewing data. When I was remote viewing the LBL, we got people in the chat talking about the Land Between the Lakes tonight. And I've
got to get there. I got to get there.
Me too. We'll all take a trip up there. I know Gerald was talking about going too, and Matthew, I think. So I need to go up there as well. We've got some friends up there.
Yeah.
But a recurring theme with some of these attacks that I have remote viewed that I do believe were cryptid related, they're going for that adrenalized blood. And that's why they are attacking humans. Now, what does that tell you, Tony? What do you think?
That tells me this. The Bible says that the life of all flesh is in the blood. And this is God speaking, I have given it to you for atonement for your souls. In other words, there is something in blood that the forces of darkness are trying to replicate. Yeah. That's what that tells me.
Oh, yeah.
Blood. God has put something in blood that is unique to mankind to bring redemption back to God through blood. And it is something that the forces of darkness are simply trying to replicate or trying to figure out what it is. So you got a spirit being trying to figure out what God has done with humanity with their blood.
Oh, wow. Well, there's always some sort of inversion too going on as well. And the dark forces, like, isn't it true? Like they can't create and stuff too. No, I don't know.
See, that's another thing. Okay, so we got one creator. That's God. He created everything. Everything that man creates is made from something that has already been created. He is not the originator of it. So the deception is the dark forces can't create, but they can destroy what has been created or deceive people into making them believe that they have created this. For example, this is why we got these experiments with these people making animals in labs. See, they're trying to do something that they was not designed to do. And it basically what it does is create confusion. When you got confusion, you got lawlessness. When you got lawlessness, you got a depravity that takes place where these beings can then control. And it brings a false sense of security where you think you're at peace, but it's being controlled by this thing.
Well, there's just a recurring theme of blood and needing the blood. And even Dennis is in the chat still, Hunting the Shadows. Hey, Dennis. We talk about blood and it's used as, and even Cryptoville, we've talked about this too with conjuring cryptids. Because there are people that are into the dark arts, I guess you can call it, who do use blood to conjure deities and entities. And even on battlefields, like the Civil War battlefields, we have in the Revolutionary War battlefields, all the battlefields, we have a lot of battlefields, land dispute battles and stuff here in the United States. We honestly don't know what our true history is, to be honest. Right. The more I'm looking into this, the less I believe all the history books. Okay, right. I think there's a way longer, more rich history here, right, in these lands that we live on. But we don't know what all's been on these lands. But when I'm looking into some of these cases, like the old green eyes I always bring up, the land, whatever I was remote viewing, and at Courtswood Manor too. Okay, you know where that is, up in North Georgia. Yep. I keep getting the same message in these targets, and the data says the land requires blood. Okay, whatever this is requires blood. So is that sacrifice? Now to the people in charge, okay, whoever they are, the elite, whoever's our
Mhm.
politicians, whoever's creating these wars, okay, and sending our men and women into battle. Uh,
Yeah.
do they do it on purpose? I know this is like total just a thought.
Then
Okay, this is for entertainment purposes only.
can
But
I go
do
use
they do
the
it on
restroom real
purpose?
quick? Can I go use the restroom real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna sit here and ponder with my chat. Okay. Yeah, but you have to wonder, like, are people being sent to certain spots to we have like constant war in the Middle East, right? Okay, constant war in the Middle East, constant wars all over the place. All right, or at least that's what we're told, and I believe there's a lot of bloodshed in certain places over and over and over again. Uh, is that for ritual purposes of some sort? I don't know. Maybe I've gone down too many rabbit holes, y'all. I go down a lot of rabbit holes, but like I've been saying lately, I've been noticing patterns. Okay, and a lot of the same data is showing up in a lot of these different targets that I'm doing when it comes to conjuring cryptids and things being conjured, and even on that battlefield up at Chickamauga, they say that there are suicides that happen there to this day on that battlefield. Like, why would that be? You know, it seems almost paranormal in a way, like something is calling them there, and that data suggested that the land requires blood. Requires blood. A lot of talk about blood coming up though with all these shows that we're doing. Cryptoville says all wars are created by those in charge for profit and to gain more power, and there's a ceremonial tie to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Tell me that.
Now we're ready.
You can take as many breaks as you need. Yeah. Yeah,
Now,
Renee says people age telomeres. Telomeres is a word I just learned. I think Alex Jones was saying it or something. What's that kind of vitamin that he had? It was like, you got to fix your telomeres. It's like on your DNA, right?
huh.
I think it stops you from aging so bad or something. I can't remember. I think I bought a bottle of it though. Okay, so I that's why I don't take anything. I haven't taken any vitamins in a while. But let's see.
Now,
Oh
what
yeah,
was,
it is about aging. It is about aging. But anyways, yeah, we're just talking about blood, Tony. Okay, the
okay.
blood. And
Yeah. You asked a question about the battlefields or something.
yeah, well, I was talking about the land requiring blood. Okay,
Right.
requiring blood, and maybe that's why war. Like I actually after you left a while ago, I was mentioning like the Middle East. There's constant war going on there, right?
Right.
Constant warfare all the time, and I don't know if just because the land requires blood too, and and I know Cryptoville said it's ceremonial when it comes to wars and stuff. I think ritualistic.
Now,
Okay.
all right. So, in one instance in Scripture, where Cain kills Abel,
Hmm.
the Bible says that Abel's blood cried out to God from the ground, and that's how. I don't want to say that's how God knew, but there was repercussions for this murder that took place. As far as the blood spilled on the ground, you got blood spilled all over the place, and I don't think it's done on purpose. It's just it's a result of mankind. As far as in the Middle East goes, what you're seeing in the Middle East take place with all the fighting amongst them, that's an ancient war. It's a spiritual war as well as a physical war. What you're seeing with basically almost to an extent, what you're seeing manifest between the nations on the earth is what you're seeing manifest in the heavens, in the spiritual realm, between angels and stuff fighting against with each other. It's manifested on the earth. So you're going to always have battles. This just always
Yeah.
everywhere. It's just when you talk about if you're when you're doing your remote viewing and it's the land is requiring blood, that's a sinister thing. That's not actually the earth itself, but you have all right. So these dark entities, spirits in general, I'll say fallen angels and stuff like that, they inhabit locations. Okay, so one of the things that's very important that you'll notice in scripture is what's called divine geography. Okay, where particular spirits operate over a particular location. You'll see that in the book of Daniel, where Daniel prays, and the angel Gabriel comes to him 21 days later, and Gabriel tells him, he says, "From the day you set your heart to pray, God heard your prayer, and I am come for your words, but I was held up by the prince of Persia." I was held up for 21 days by the prince of Persia. Now, the prince of Persia is a prince spirit that was over the nation of Persia, because Daniel was under he was held in the Persian Empire during that time. He says that, and the angel Gabriel tells him, "I have to go back because the prince of Greece is on his way." And he's talking about a spirit being. Well, what empire conquered the Persian Empire? Greece. So these spirits operate within territories. When you have a place like Corpsewood Manor, okay, that's a dark place. So there is probably a dark spirit that inhabits that place, and it wants people. Blood.
Well, that's a perfect example. And yes, and the gentlemen who lived there were actually instructed where to build their house because they were Satanists and were friends with Anton LaVey.
So you have a demonic spirit there that's still there to it. In other words, just because the people leave, that doesn't mean the spirit leaves with them.
Tony, you won't believe this. So when I went to go investigate that place 10, 11 years ago, I was with the guys with ERG, okay, and we got up there. I had Craig and Bruce were with us too. We got there, and there was blood everywhere. In the ruins of the house, there was blood splatter all over, and it was fresh. It was fresh, and it was everywhere. And there were pictures of people. The obvious rituals had been done there,
right,
and are still done there to this day. But we have like werewolf or dogman sightings up there, Bigfoot reports, all sorts of stuff up here, and it's around, what is that? Tryon, Georgia. It's not too far from Tryon or Cedartown.
Yeah.
And or Rome, I guess. So there's blood, and we were. I hate to say hoping, because we were hoping that it was like a chicken or something. Like maybe somebody came up and did like a voodoo ritual or something. We were hoping it was something like that, or just like fake.
Yeah, something that's
not human.
Yeah.
But it turns out it was human.
What?
It was. And let me tell you the story behind it. Okay. And this is interesting for the audience. I might have mentioned this before I did a show on Corpsewood Manor with Craig, by the way, one of our teammates. And after we posted that video of some of our research on the ERG YouTube channel, which I think has been taken down now. Okay, well, we had a 3-part series on Enigma Research Group's YouTube channel. A woman contacted us and said that blood was from my son.
What?
She said, I watched your video. She said, I watched your video and I can't believe it. You guys ended up going there a few days or a couple of days after my son had to be rushed out of there and almost died. She said that was the weekend before. He and his friends had gone up there they took a Ouija board or something. They were trying to, it's a local spot to get scared for teenagers.
Yeah, yeah. And
so her son, a young man, him and his friends went, and they decided they were going to build a fire. And he had a knife or a hatchet. I think he had a hatchet. And he went to go chop a piece of wood, and the axe slipped, and it slit the artery in his thigh.
God.
She said that it bled so bad they thought that he wasn't going to survive. And we had noticed that like a herd of elephants had left out in a hurry. So
Right.
we knew that something had happened, but we didn't know what. We were just like, oh, it's a bunch of kids that got scared.
Right.
Well, actually, it was all his friends carrying him to the car to rush him to the hospital, and that was his blood. Yeah. So it was human. Now, what are the odds of that land requiring blood? There's a kid who's out there chopping wood, and oops, the axe just accidentally slipped.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, okay, so it required blood.
Yeah.
It didn't say what kind or how much. It just was requiring it. And and if there's one place like that, there's many places like that. And it's those are the areas that you really want to be cautious and careful, because it's dangerous, because we can't physically see a spirit unless it chooses for us to see it. But it can mess with our mind, it can mess with our emotions, it can stir us up in all kind of ways, especially something that dark and that powerful.
Yeah. It was sad. The kid ended up being okay. He survived.
Okay, good.
Okay, he survived. He had some good friends with him that took care of him immediately and got him out of there. But that was his blood. It was not a chicken. We had our suspicions that it might have been human. We were hoping it wasn't, though.
Right.
Ludum, thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, this is an excellent discussion tonight. We've gone pretty deep into some of these topics here tonight when it comes to this, but this is real life stuff for you and I, because we're out here doing the boots on the ground field research.
And this is some deep stuff, and it's deep stuff. People are seeing it, people are experiencing it, and of course we can't answer everything, but I really try to do what I can to bring people comfort, to bring people, give them information or something else to think about than the norm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we think outside the box.
Oh yeah.
We both do. And that's one of my requirements is I like for my research friends, and I mean, I don't require it, but like I would prefer everybody have an open mind, okay?
Right.
Because that's the only way we're going to start really having an open discussion about all this.
Yeah, because
and not judging people for their beliefs and their opinions.
And you get a lot of that too. You get a lot of that, but you got to be able to bend some. You got to be able to bend. This field is a give and take. It's a give and take.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely give and take, but we have a lot of really smart people in the chat tonight, and my all of my friends, everybody bring on my shows are super smart, and everybody has a different perspective on things too, which I really appreciate, because the things that you said tonight, you put things so eloquently, okay, that with the space and the time and the cryptids and the spirits and everything that's out there slowing down so that we can see them occasionally. It makes perfect sense. I have a question too. There was an instance where my son and I, Ben, we were seeing orbs in the house, and his dad could not see them. What do you think that was? Do you think that Ben and I were just on the frequency of these orbs and his dad wasn't?
Let me think about that one.
I know I figured, I'm not trying to stump you on, but I've been trying to figure that out too. And that my theory is that Ben and I are on a different frequency, and I guess the orbs let us see them, but not his dad. I'm not saying that. See, I'm not saying he's low vibe.
I don't know. Now here, it's the same thing like this. Okay. Like when I was talking about my dad was able to see him. We didn't see nothing, but he was able to see it, and he's seeing it, and we're looking in the same spot. My sister can see him. I can't. So I think really it that depends on the individual. I think that's more along the lines of the individual versus the actual being. The being, I do believe they can select who they choose to see it and who can't. But like with my family, I can't see them. And it has to be one of them things where they let me see it. I'm not, if it's, I can't see it. My dad, my sisters, they can see them. I'm glad I can't see it. So, but I can hear, I can feel when something's around.
Oh yeah.
So,
having the gift of sight is both a blessing and a curse, they say. Right?
Yeah. Yep. For an answer on okay, so you and Ben was able to see the orb, but
we both saw it.
Now, wasn't he able to see through the phone?
Do what?
Wasn't he able to see through the phone or something?
He saw it through the cell phone. Yeah, he could see it through the screen on his phone as he was filming, because he was videoing it live, and he was watching it on his screen, but he could not see them in real life, in real time. Real time. I say real life.
Right.
You couldn't see them in real time. But my son and I were watching them, and actually Ben is following them with his finger, going, "Mom, ball." And you can see them moving with them.
An interesting thing is children can see them anyway. I don't know if I'm pretty sure at some time, at some particular age, they stop. But for them, that's like you see babies cooing at something, and you're standing there next to the baby, and you see ain't nothing there, but it's sure responding to something. So kids can see them. I think there's an innocence factor there, to where they don't know bad or good or whatever. So I think there's an innocence factor there, but a concrete answer, couldn't tell you.
You could, I know. Well, none of us have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. Shout out to Drewski of Cryptid Warfare Podcast. Drewski and I are going Dogman. I was going to say on an expedition. Let's just say very soon. So yeah, I've got to get geared up this week. By the way, Drew, thank you for listening to us. I'm going to be seeing you shortly. Okay, pretty soon. So yeah, we're in for an interesting couple of several days. Let's just say several days. But Tony, this is one of the guys that I'm going Dogman hunting.
Okay.
Yeah. Not hunting. It's hunting. Not, we don't have any plans of hurting anything. Okay, y'all.
Well, a hunt don't necessarily involve killing anything. You can hunt.
I am the huntress.
Because
I'm the cryptid huntress. Okay.
Hunting is actually another word for looking.
We're looking hard. We're looking hard. Actually, we know that if we just put ourselves in the right place, they're going to come looking for us.
Right.
And that's really what we do, right? With a lot of our research, Tony, is we don't go, we put ourselves in the area where they are. And then if we'll just chill out, they're going to come to us. Yep. Just like we said earlier, how Bob was always getting all the action back at base camp when we were out there trotting through the woods looking for it.
Really the only thing, as far as when we're researching and stuff, the one thing we do when we go into an area, especially a new area, is you're kind of going in and you're going out and you're really looking for signs that you're not wasting your time being there. You're looking for signs of it being there, of prints, wood structures, possibly hair if you can, sounds. You're just looking for a sign. Yeah, this thing is here. Okay. So we get the sign that it's there. We understand that it's there. Then we just set up camp and just sit and wait. Kind of ignore it, but not ignore it to draw it in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, if you just go out and you ignore it kind of, and you have fun and you kind of forget about it, that's when it happens. It's kind of the same with if you want to like manifest anything, right? Yeah. Anytime, I mean, some of the secrets to manifesting, okay, because I'm pretty good at manifesting stuff by accident. Okay. And that's why I have to keep my thoughts controlled in a way, because if have you ever watched that movie, Carrie? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You know what happens at the end? I'm not saying I would ever do that. I'm just saying I just know that like my mind is I'm very powerful. We all are. We're all very powerful. Okay. And whenever I think of something, that's why I quit watching those scary shows. I quit watching the first 48 because I was watching it so much. It ended up, I always said, if I watch this too much, it's going to end up on my doorstep. And sure enough, Tony, they started filming on my street. Okay.
What?
Eventually. Yes. In Decatur, Georgia. Yes, sir. Wow. Sure did. And so I quit watching it because I don't want to manifest something negative by thinking negatively about something or watching something that's low vibrational like that.
Right.
It won't manifest into my life if I allow it. Or if
Right.
and it's not even if I allow it, it's like you do it inadvertently because that's what you're focused on, but you're not really focused on it, but you are.
Yeah.
And it'll start manifesting into your life. Okay. And so we can use that to our advantage when it comes to cryptids and stuff. You know, you put the intention out, you go camping, you want to see a Bigfoot, or you want to have an experience with a dog man or whatever, but you want it to be positive. Okay.
Right.
Maybe not positive, just not violent or negative.
You know, you want it positive. Positive. That means walk out, stand there a minute, look at me, and keep it moving. Positive.
Keep it moving. Positive from a distance, right? From a distance. Don't come up and scare us and breathe on me when I'm sleeping.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
that kind of a thing. But we go out there with the intention of having an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then go out there, and if the less we try, probably the more possible it will be to happen. Okay, just go out there and start having fun, and it'll happen.
And that's pretty much how Bigfoot research goes, because a lot of times when we're actually out there, you know, you're in the field, you know, you don't see anything. The exception is that you do see something as far as a creature walking or something, you know, like my first sighting was when I chased one. That was my first actual sighting. But, you know, we were out there just basically just looking for signs, and then that happened to show up. But that was an exception, not the rule. You know, the second time when we went up there camping, I had my firstborn son with me at the time. He was probably two or 3 years old. So we were camping in the same area, but not the same location that we did our research in. And it was me, my father-in-law, my ex-wife, and my mother-in-law and my son. And it started getting late. So they were going to bed, and we were going to go around on the creek and sit there and chat, because we were being loud. We were just having a good old time. Wasn't even thinking about a Bigfoot. And we get like we're going to go down into the creek, and this thing, it comes to the wood line basically, and you can see its eyes reflecting off of the campfire light. And it started doing that number. And I was like, Lamar, what the heck is that? And he's looking eye level, and he finally looks up, and he goes to draw his gun, and I stop him from shooting at it, because you can hear other things walking around in the woods over there. And it did that for a little bit, and then it just turned and through the brush. Coming up, we never heard it, and we were talking loud as we were going down toward that way. But when it stepped out, it was like, because, you know, we stopped and it stopped, and we're like, okay. And it just, we heard it leave, but we never heard it come. And when it left, it just went through the brush just. But to your point, we wasn't looking for it. We wasn't even researching.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, that was like when I had that experience. We had the experience with the UFO at one of the spots that I was at. We call it UFO field now. I was with ERG, and we were out there, and my buddy JT and I were stalking out. We were trying to blend into the environment for a large amount of time. I'm talking about from 3 p.m. till after midnight that night, trying to blend in with the environment. And we were determined to have a Bigfoot step on us. Okay, we were determined. We knew it was going to happen, and we had a plan, and the team was all in on it. And we ended up not having a Bigfoot experience at all, but we ended up having UFOs and like possible ET stuff happening to us.
Wow.
But we weren't expecting that. We weren't looking for that. We were looking for Bigfoot. We were focused on Bigfoot. We knew it was going to be a Bigfoot kind of thing, and we ended up getting more than we were expecting. Okay, with that, because we weren't focused on that. Right.
You wasn't even thinking about a UFO, and then here they come. I know as a kid, I might have been, I would see, the 70s, not Bigfoot, but Bigfoot, UFOs, and Loch Ness Monster was kind of, very, very popular. So on Saturday nights, we would watch Doctor Who and War of the Worlds and stuff, some of these old 70s UFO movies. So when I'd go to bed, I'd be scared. I was terrified of UFOs and stuff. And there was one night, and I don't know. See, I had my head under the covers, so but I don't know if there was something in the room or not. I'm pretty sure it was. I probably was hearing something crazy, but this is why I sleep with the radio on to this day. So I'm in the room and I hear, I don't know where it was even coming from. I couldn't tell you, but in my mind, I'm invaded. All I got when I'm here, all I got is little green men around my bed, and I'm under the covers, and it just was. I don't know. To this day, I don't know what the heck that was, but I attributed it to a UFO. There was no light in the room. There was no. Was my window cracked? I think my window might have been cracked, but I don't know what it was. I remember that to this day. It was like. It was real low though, it wasn't like it was loud. It was just because the house was so quiet, you can hear anything in that thing, and it just was. Couldn't tell you what that was, but I was terrified.
Oh gosh, do you remember what happened after you heard that? Did you fall asleep, or did you just sit up and listen for the rest of the night?
Well, I think I went to sleep because I was probably. Let's see, that was 944 McCain. I might have been 10 or 11, somewhere around there, between 10 and 12. Yep. Nothing hit. Now, like I said, I was under the covers, and I was wide awake hearing it. I didn't see no lights. I didn't hear no footsteps. But in my mind, because I don't watch Doctor Who and all these dang alien movies, so to me, I'm surrounded. I didn't even want to get up to go pee. I was surrounded. So that's what was going on in my mind now, because I'm wide awake. I didn't feel nothing, But yeah, I don't know what that was.
Well, it sounds like it was similar to what you experienced as an adult. So hey Adolf, Adolf was asking, did you hear metallic sounds? Okay, well Adolf, I think earlier tonight, Tony was telling us about hearing chains and hearing a voice in his ear. Okay. Very ghostly kind of voice, almost a little demonic actually. Okay. But more, let's just say ghostly.
That was a demon. That was a demon.
It was a demon. Okay. Tony said it. Tony said it, not me.
Yeah. I fully believe that's what that was. Yep.
Yeah. So, but it's almost like you've had these experiences since you were a kid.
Yeah. I don't know if I can't say 100% that was an actual alien thing. Because like I said, I have been watching Doctor Who. I have been watching some kind. I watched some kind of UFO stuff because I was already scared to go to bed because I don't watch this stuff. So, but I don't know what that was. That could have been the radio from another room. I don't know, but it was just, and in my head, I'm invaded. It was close to the third kind to me. So,
and two, okay, yes, Scott. I don't know if you were here earlier tonight. Hey, Scott. Tony does like Metallica too. Okay, so I don't know if Adolf was saying. I think he was meaning Metallica, but you also like Metallica too. Yeah. Yes. And that's the one thing that I can play. I can play the intro to Nothing Else Matter on a guitar. Okay, that's the only song I know. Oh, it's the only song I know. Yeah, I can play that on a guitar. I used to be pretty good at it. So, I know. Useless information 101 with Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress. But yeah, I love some Metallica too, by the way. All right, great music. But yeah, a lot of interesting information is coming out of you tonight, Tony. A lot of interesting information.
Yeah, I've like said, like the paranormal supernatural. That's nothing. To me, it's not weird. It's just it's part of being human. These things are there.
Yeah, it's just, you know what, I coexist with the paranormal. I think I've been told, actually, when I was younger, I was told that I live with one foot in this world and the other foot in another.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In a reality, in true reality, all of us do. You know, all of us do. You know, because, you know, our being, our makeup is body, soul, and spirit, you know, and some don't separate the soul and spirit. But I you know, I kind of, you know, you got three things: your body, which is your physical being, your soul, which is your mental faculties, and your spirit, which is your eternal being. And if any of those separate, nothing operates.
Yeah, you know, that's something that I really appreciated about when I met the guys with Enigma Research Group, my original, my OG Bigfoot research group. They were really into the mind, body, spirit aspect of Sasquatch and cryptids.
Right.
Okay, and I think that was something that, you know, people in the Bigfoot research field, a lot, when I first got into, like, when I went public, and because I never watched any YouTube channels about Bigfoot. I was in my own little bubble with my teams. I never watched YouTube. I never watched anything. I never went to websites looking for Bigfoot stuff. We were just doing our own thing. Okay. And then when I got into, like, doing shows, I saw that there was a divide. Okay. Because we got the primate in the wood camp, and then we got the woo camp, the supernatural X Factor camp. And I'm 100% X Factor. Okay. Because I think that they're a solid flesh and bone being, but I also have seen with my own eyes and my own body, like, I know with my everything in my being, there's something else going on with Bigfoot. There's a spiritual side to it. Okay. And I think that we can't discount that. And I think that we should look into that when we're trying to understand what these things are.
Yeah.
Okay. And
well, that's us. That's being you to a T, because I'm 100% primate. I'm flesh and blood creature. Me and my old team, the leader of it, he would say stuff, and me and him would go back and forth. Sometimes take well at night, just back and forth. And he would say, "Well, Bigfoot blinks in and blinks out." And when he would say it, you know, because we would be talking about Bigfoot, okay, and we would just be, you know, in our little, just going talking, and then he would just slide that in there. And he would know that would stir me up, and then we're going back. I said, "Man, he don't blink in and out. There's no blinking," you know. And so there we go. But he fully believed that his term was it would blink in and blink out. And where he was describing was, you know, you follow a set of tracks, and you'd be in a field. You follow a set of tracks, and then they just vanish, and then you may pick them up again somewhere else in the field or something. So to him, it was blinking in and blinking out. And he would say, he actually come to the conclusion. He said, "I think they dimension walk." He said they'll walk along, you know, in the physical realm, but if they don't want you to see them, they will basically transfer to another dimension. So he would call it dimension walking. So I was always the primate, and he was always the woo, so to speak. And we would, you know, we would just go back and forth. But I didn't never, unless I was cutting up with him, because we would cut up back and forth all the time. We were like brothers, basically. But I would never discount what he said. You know, I was like, okay, I can't explain it, but he's still blood. You know, maybe he walked backwards, you know, something, you know, but, you know, and so I wouldn't, because the thing is, I don't know. There are things we do know. There's things that are a lot of theory, you know. So when it gets into the mystery, I'm not afraid to say, I have no idea. That's a mystery. You know, if somebody tells me they see a Bigfoot that turns into an orb, I ain't got nothing for you. I don't know what to tell you on that. If you saw a Sasquatch turn into an orb, and
I've seen an alien turn into an orb before. I actually have. There's a video. Matthew Delph has a video. He showed it at the conference today. And it's one that I talk about a lot. And I hope that one day he'll come on my show and show it to the world.
I hope
Yeah.
here's what I hope I don't never see. You know what I'm saying? Let's say if we're out researching or something, right? And I walk up on a Bigfoot and he's right there and he's looking at me and I'm looking at it and it vanished. My researching is over. I'm done.
You sound like Craig. Craig said that. Craig was like, I was out there, all fun and games. We were looking for a big old monkey in the woods. He was like, then we come in and ET comes out, and then we got all these orbs and these UFOs. He's like, I can't do it. He's like, we're never gonna find it. He was like, it's not possible. He was like, because they can just disappear into portals, and I don't know what's going on anymore.
You're done at that point. But if I physically see that, now I'll research it up to that point till I'm looking at it, and then it just didn't materialize. I can't do nothing with that.
Yeah. Well, here's what I say. Okay, because we talk about them being interdimensional sometimes. Some people say that, and I've always said, well, there's an X factor to it. We're not exactly sure how it works or what's going on. You explained it very well tonight, though, with beings that come in and out and they slow down so we can see them because they're vibrating differently than we are. Okay, well, I believe that we have portals here on Earth. We have natural portals. We have man-made portals sometimes. And when we say interdimensional, I think that just means they're utilizing these portals. It doesn't mean that they're just disappearing into thin air. They're using something that defies like time and space, okay? Right. Like a wormhole. They're stepping into it because they can. I mean, shoot. I mean, we could too if we found a portal somewhere, and maybe that's where some of these missing people are going and stuff at our national parks, And
see that. Me and a guy of mine at work, a buddy of mine at work, we get to talking about these portals, and I'll be like, okay, so I've done research on Bigfoot. I've not researched ghosts, but I know they're there. I've had an encounter here or there with that, but a portal, and the portals, man. Here's my trouble with portals. Okay.
Let's hear it.
If thinking about how I am with the spiritual and the natural, okay, to me, there's no need of a portal if it's a being of a spiritual stance, because there's nothing to go. There's no reason for it. You're talking because a portal is going to transfer something, because the intention of a portal is to move it from point A to point B, or point A to opposite point A, okay? So we're still referring to time. But if a being can move at the speed of thought, why would it have to have a portal? Now, the next question is...
Well, because the Sasquatch are physical beings.
Right.
Right.
So the next question I have on that is, people are seeing something.
Yeah.
There is something, even on with that, and more so now, is that Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. That's my favorite show now, by the way.
I need to start watching that.
It's pretty intense, and because they're using straight science to basically take measurements and are getting visual pictures, not from a photography camera, but from the equipment that they're using. And portals are basically showing up. So here we are, now. Here we are.
Having these discussions. I mean, I think it's cool just to talk about it and to hear everybody's different experiences and our thoughts on it.
Yeah, and like I always try to. All right, so if this is happening here, can I find this in the Bible anywhere? Can I see where something is opening up or anything like that? And I haven't found that, other than there's one place where it talks about in Revelation, where it talks about the angel of the bottomless pit opening it up to allow three spirits like frogs to come through. But this location is in the Euphrates River. That's dried up. So, could that be a portal? Could that be what's described as a portal? So, but that's kind of where that's the only thing I can see that would pretty much be a type of portal in the Bible, that is. But I don't know.
Hey, I can appreciate that you've looked for it in the scripture. Okay.
You see, because to me, if God wrote about it, then all right, something's, and I do understand that the way thing. All right, so you're talking to ancient people that don't have necessarily the vocabulary that we have to describe what we're seeing today. Like somebody from 3,000 years ago, how would they describe a helicopter today?
A bird, right?
But you got to figure. So look at what they're used to. A bird that has wings that flap, not spin around in a circle. How would they describe that? You see what I'm saying? So there's things I have to. When I look at it, I'm like, okay, if I'm an ancient person looking at this thing with their vocabulary that's limited, what am I looking at? What looks like a dragon in the sky? What looks, what would, because they're going to describe things in association with what they know and are looking at that present time. So if they've seen a disc in the sky, they're not going to describe it as a metallic disc in the sky. They're going to say something like, I saw two suns, or the moon and the sun was there together. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you got to look at that stuff.
Yeah, I just did a show, and I talked about this in my presentation today at the World UFO Conference. I talked about the Battle of Los Angeles, but when I was talking about the Battle of Los Angeles, I was talking about the celestial, what do they call it, the celestial event or something of, what was it? I want to say 1561. I think it was 1561. And there was another one in 1660 something. Okay, we've had these celestial events that happened where it looked like UFOs. It was like a UFO battle in the sky. And these things have been documented for centuries.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's interesting to see how they describe it in newspapers, in their literature from back then.
Right. See, and here's something that the Bible does say that I don't think we kind of click on. The Bible says it like this: there is nothing new under the sun.
Right.
So what we're dealing with is ancient things. See, that show Ancient Alien drives me insane. It literally drives me insane. Because they'll, a lot of it is, well, how can they do this? And why is this? And where did this come from? And my immediate response is, it's giants. It's Nephilim. They have, and they got divine knowledge that they're conveying on how to do this stuff. And I'm screaming at the TV. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. I like Ancient Aliens. That's a pretty cool show. I haven't watched it in a long time, but let me tell you, that show really, I think it started waking a lot of people up.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's like key shows that I remember throughout the past, I'm going to say 10 years, that have really done like leaps and bounds for the human consciousness. I think like awakening.
Especially
that's one of them.
I like it when they really, because they go into a lot of archaeology, and they go into, and it's not necessarily biblical, although they do talk about the Bible at times, but they more or less go to the other ancient cultures that were around at the time of the Bible, and they look like the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Ugaritic texts and stuff like that, Qumran scrolls and various things, the cuneiform tablets, the Code of Hammurabi, all these ancient texts that are describing these entities and beings and things that we're seeing today. And now here's something that really has interest me more so than anything that I've ever seen. And it is a rock structure. It's a rock Okay, it's a rock, and somehow at the time, it stands upright now, but at the time it was part of the earth. Okay, you might have seen it. I seen it on YouTube. Okay, but in this rock is a footprint. The footprint is 6 point, I'll just say 6 foot tall. That's the size of the footprint. And it is a legit footprint that you see where it stepped and the mud went between the toes and it lifts up. You see this footprint, but it's on a rock face like this. But at the time, the rock was laying down, and it over hundreds and thousands of years, it got pushed up. But it's like, and in Islamic culture, in the Quran, it talks about Adam and Eve. But when it describes Adam and Eve, they're giants. They're very, very tall. So that has always intrigued me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about giants? Okay, because look, you're pretty tall yourself, Tony. Okay, I was going to say that footprint is almost as tall as you, but not quite. You're really tall. What do you think about the true giants? Okay, that's another thing. I know that's a whole other rabbit hole. We don't need to be here for 3 whole hours. So I know you probably need to go to bed. But I mean, I just would love to know like your opinion on the giants, the giant bones and things.
Okay, so my opinion on the giants goes back to Genesis chapter 6, and that the angels came and fallen angels, cohabitated with women and produced that race of giants. Now, some texts have them at no more than 6 to 7 feet tall. And then there are some ancient texts that have them upwards of 13 to 14 feet tall. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Goliath, was a giant. I see a lot of when I see people talking about giants, they talk about them as in the sense of like they were cavemen and didn't have a lot of intelligence. But when I go back into the biblical record, there were a plethora of giants that built cities that, like a lot like the Iron Ages and all these things, that was the result of the information that giants was given to mankind. I fully believe 100% that the giants, it was giants that built the pyramids in Giza. I
remember that. There were giants involved, giants and UFOs or extraterrestrials. That was one of my blind targets.
And if you look at the hieroglyphs in Egypt, and you see where you got this being sitting on a throne, and you got the people kind of like bowing down to him. If you were to stand that being up and stand the people straight up, you'll see that this being is a giant. So giants were all over the Middle East. They were still there. They were.
I think.
Well, now
we hear the giant of Kandahar.
Yeah, and see, there's nothing like the thing with the giants is. What the problem is, what happens when they die? It's their spirits that we're dealing with still today. Those are demons. When a giant died, its judgment was to roam the earth until the time that it receives its final judgment. So, like we're a human being, when we pass away, our spirit goes to heaven, right? So, but a giant, because it's not supposed to even be here, its punishment is to roam the earth until the time of judgment. That's why and they so their torment is being disembodied. Okay, So they seek a body to inhabit. And that's why you read the New Testament where Jesus meets the Gadarene that had the legion in him. And it runs up to him and says, what are you doing here? Have you come to torment us before the time? Because there's a time of judgment for it. And it knew who he was. So that is my take on giants. They were all over the Middle East before and after the flood. They came back to the same thing again. Now, I'm not going to say they could have came back again after the biblical period. Hence the giant of Kandahar.
Yeah. Well, some people believe that the giants live in inner earths. They live in caves. They come out of caves sometimes. And, there are some whistleblowers, people that have videos of giants, alleged giants that have resurfaced, walking on the sides of mountains. And some of these people have been disappeared, okay, for exposing it. I mean, I just did a show recently on, let's just say, the probability of there being giants in stasis chambers, okay, all over the world. Also, that giant of Kandahar. Let me just talk about that for a half second, because that was one of my remote viewing targets, and the data was talking about off-world civilizations. It was talking about the elite. It was talking about the NWO and taking samples for cloning purposes.
Yeah.
Of something, whatever I was remote viewing, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Samples for cloning and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? Like that would make sense, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, oh man.
I know it's deep, right? You're just gonna have to come back on the show. We'll do a show on giants next. Okay. Next time I bring you on. Let's do it.
So much. See, there is so much. Yeah, see, there's a dark plan. There's basically just a dark plan of developing this new world order. In the process of this, see, and basically what you're having is it's not even the new world order. It's I like to call it a old world establishment, because basically what they're doing is what's happening is they're trying to reenact the Tower of Babel, where everybody becomes under one roof, under one ruler. The question is, who is ruler? That's the problem. One ruler, and there's going to be things that's going to be taking place that we're not going to be able to believe what we're seeing, because there's going to be the deception, and it's already starting with, you have these deep fakes. You got this AI. You got AI generated pictures and AI generated things. You got AI is going to play a big role in these coming years, and we're being conditioned for you're going to see giants. And if you don't see giants, you'll see men of normal stature with the strength and the mind and the mental capacity of these giants. Like we were talking about the hybrid tiger and the liger.
Yeah.
So you'll see you're going to see what'll be a human, normal human man or woman, but he'll have the strength, the knowledge of a giant. That's because of they'll either take the DNA, infuse it with a normal trying to build a super soldier.
Super soldier, that's part of that data for that giant of Kandahar stuff.
Trying to build a super soldier. But the super soldier won't be country specific. It'll be made for the one world government, because everybody will want a piece of it, and it'll put every nation on a level playing field.
Okay. Do you think that? Let me answer this question first, and I got a question for you. Okay. Re-indigenizing minds. Send me your information. Go to my website, send me an email, the cryptidhuntress@gmail.com. Okay. I'd be glad to help you look into some stuff. Okay. That sounds fun. That's what I do. Okay. That's what I do for fun. Okay. So Tony, do you think that, cause you and I are speaking publicly about our research and the things that we've experienced, do you feel like you, and even me, because I feel like I've been called to do this. I would have never thought I'd be doing this, 10, 20 years ago, talking about cryptids to the world. Okay.
Right.
Do you think that we've been called to do this because of what is ahead right now? And it's kind of helping prepare people a little bit by sharing our experiences with creatures that aren't supposed to exist?
That I don't know. I really don't know. I know for me, my calling is really to bridge a gap between Jewish and Christian believers to establish that relationship. As far as the Bigfoot goes, I don't know if it's a calling as much as an opportunity, to share the stuff. And because when I started, none of this was happening. This has gotten broad, it's gotten wide. There's a lot of questions, a lot of speculations. I would hope that the information I give will keep people grounded and not to just go after tangents and stuff, but to equip them to say, okay, that may be this, or this may be that, and no, that ain't right, or to be able to equip people to make better judgment calls on things. Now, is it a calling? I don't know.
You don't talk out as much as I do about it. Okay, so I think that I think the cryptids, the media is like a medium of sharing other information with everybody too. Like the experiences, the energy that we're putting out,
right.
To I don't know, maybe help move things along a little bit. I mean, I'm trying to figure things out myself. Okay, I'm trying to figure things out myself.
Here's the thing: people are needed to expose, to put a voice to the voiceless, so to speak. Because a lot of people are afraid to talk about this stuff. They see something, but they can't talk about it because nobody's going to believe them. So you provide a platform for people to discuss what they saw, to try to give it some kind of perspective, So in a sense, yeah, that's a calling. That's something, you're providing a help and a resource for people who are experiencing some stuff, and you're that welcome voice. Yeah, you can talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's don't keep that in. Let's discuss this. Let's find out what's going on. And you basically take them by the hand as well as on your own journey to discover the truth. Here's the thing: you'll never know the magnitude or how many people you have truly helped to overcome talking about this stuff, bringing closure to something.
Oh yeah, we're all helping each other. We're all helping each other. Absolutely, we're all just walking each other home. That's what my friend Bryce says, right? We are.
Yeah.
We are. I think I hit a all-time record tonight with this show. We've gone over 2.5 hours, Tony.
Wow.
2.5 hours tonight. So yeah, and I know everybody, we're all getting tired. People, I know it's about bedtime for us old folks over here. Okay. But Tony, I mean, I could talk to you all day and all night. Okay. You are so fascinating to talk with. And and I could go back. Maybe we could talk about giants. I'll bring you back on sometime. Anytime you want, you come join me. Okay. And
we can do a giant episode.
Okay. Let's plan on it sometime.
I'll give you my full biblical
perspective
on that whole shenanigan thing, that whole thing.
Well, I'm down for it.
That's one of my favorite subjects. Somebody had asked me too. They said, because we were talking about Bigfoot in the Bible. He said, "Do you think Bigfoot's a giant?" I said, "No." I said, "Why?" I said, "Bigfoot don't build cities. Giants build cities."
Yeah, I mean, he builds. I don't know. That's a good point. That's a good point. There's their own thing. Okay. I was going to ask you a question, but that's going to take us down a whole other rabbit hole. So I'm going to refrain. And I'm going to say thank you so much, Tony, for being here tonight and for sharing it. Thank you so much. This has been one of, I mean, I always have fascinating guests on and co-hosts, okay? But this was a little different, and it was super, I mean, this is very educational. First of all, I learned stuff tonight.
I greatly appreciate
stuff, Tony. And we also had some of our teammates in the chat tonight too. Some people that go Bigfooting with us. We had David Pardue was in here, and I had Daryl in here. And
awesome.
I'm sure there were some more. I probably missed them. Yeah, they're probably in bed by now. Okay, they're already asleep. But they did hop in for a little bit. So Tony, do you have any kind of place where people could find you? You don't have a YouTube channel or anything, do you?
No, all I got is my email address, and that is TonyG389@gmail.com.
Tony G. Okay. Go ahead.
389@gmail.com.
Okay.
And you can find me just on Facebook. Tony Green. That's me.
Okay.
Awesome. I ain't got no other websites, nothing like that. That may be coming though. I don't know. Thinking about it.
I think you should start your own podcast when you get a chance. I know you're busy.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it. I've got a buddy of mine that's been riding me. But you got to do your podcast. It's like, oh man.
Oh, you should.
Let me get that out the way, because
it would take off, Tony. I'm telling you. I know everybody has really enjoyed having you here tonight. Everybody in the chat. It's been we've really enjoyed having you here. So thank you.
I've had a blast being here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I'm going to be seeing you out in the woods one day soon. I mean, when I make it back from the dog man hunt. Okay.
August or something? Are you going to that one?
We do. Well, I'm scheduled to be at another event, so we'll see what's going to happen with that. We're gonna I'll talk to you. It's gonna be hot.
Oh my God!
It's gonna be hot on that dogman thing, and there's gonna be no relief at all. So yeah, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. So, but that's what I'm tough. I'm pretending like I'm tough. Okay. Oh man, it's all fun and games so you can't sleep because you're so sweaty. Okay, but we'll see. But no matter what, we're having a good time. It's fun. We do it because we love it, and we love the people we do it with. Okay.
That's right.
Our friends are our family. Okay, it's a big old family out there. Absolutely, for sure. Well, Tony, you have a wonderful night, and I am so glad you're here. And I'm going to have you back on real soon. You let me know when you're ready. We'll do it. We'll do a show on giants. Okay.
All right, for real.
Okay, heck yeah. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here in the chat tonight. Thank you for all the super stickers and for just all the love tonight. And what a wonderful chat. You guys have really gone far beyond in the chat tonight. I love you guys so much. And please come back. I'm going to be at Spaced Out Radio tomorrow night. I believe I have Brian Seen coming on tomorrow night with Disclosure Now. He's throwing the Full Disclosure Now conference that I'm going to be speaking at. And did I lose Tony? I don't know. Tony just must left Tony. Okay, but yeah, you guys please come back and see me tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio. And otherwise, I'll see y'all next week. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. And you're having a wonderful weekend. And I will see y'all next time. Everybody go keep your head on a swivel. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you soon. Bye.